people of the World Wide Web. So it is Cypher Sigma here. It is movie review time, and yes, this is the final one for my cinema. So as a recording of this video, the cinema is now shut. We have no idea when Odeon is going to happen. But I have planned to say there will be hopefully a movie review next week. I'm not going to say what it is, just in case something happens, but we should go. So this one, as you can see from the thing, is a complete unknown. This was the last day. This is the second day it was out. I saw this. It's 2 hours and 21 minutes long. And it is essentially, if you haven't seen the trailer or you don't know, this is essentially Timothée Chalamet playing Bob Dylan in the story of when he goes to New York in 1961 and kind of the next few years of him making it big in his story. It is acted very well. There is a few little bits at the end to say what kind of happens afterwards to Bob Dylan, and that he is still alive. I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about this movie. I didn't know anything about Bob Dylan. I barely know his songs. But I did enjoy this movie. So we'll put the spoiler warning up and we shall get into it. So yeah, so as I said, this is Timothée Chalamet playing Bob Dylan. We also have Ed Norton as Pete Seeger, Elle Fanning as Sylvia Russo, Monica Barbaro as Joan Baez, and Scott McNairy as Woody Guthrie. So essentially, as I say, the story starts of Timothée Chalamet's Bobby Dylan, as he is known, him coming to New York. He's come to New York to basically find out where Woody Guthrie is. And as he goes to a bar and something, he realises he's kind of in a special hospital from a part of New York that he's already been to. New Jersey, maybe I want to say. So he goes to New Jersey, visits, and as he goes there, Pete Seeger is there with him. He comes in, he's carrying his guitar case or something, and they kind of talk. Guthrie at this time cannot talk, so he has Huntington's disease, which I don't think it explains it in the film, but I found out afterwards. So Bob gets his guitar out, starts playing a song to him, and obviously they're both taken aback of how good he is. Pete, so the Ed Norton character, decides that as Bobby's got nowhere to go, he takes him home with his family. And then over the span of the next few days, he tries to encourage him to go to a few open mic nights and stuff and get him on the set. You know, he goes with Pete to some of the stuff he's been doing, and finally gets him on an open mic night. He gets him on an open mic night the same night we are introduced to the Monica Barbaro character of Joan Baez. He mentions about it, look, she is very pretty and stuff like this, maybe too pretty. And this is kind of where you first get the inkling of, he seems like a nice guy, but he can be a bit of a dick, Bob Dylan. But so they have this interaction. He's obviously seemed to be quite popular. He gets a record chance. The record label only wants to do one album, or start off with one album, but it's all covers, and it doesn't really go anywhere, and this causes him to be a bit frustrated with it. He then goes to like this church kind of open mic night, and this is where he meets the character of Sylvia Russo, Elle Fanning, and this is where they kind of strike up the relationship. He is kind of doing his music, she is doing her thing, but he's very closed off, and this is where Sylvia comes into it quite a lot in this relationship. There's a lot of back and forth, but Bob is very closed off for whatever reason. It's part of it because of who he is, and I think this comes across in a lot of films, that because he is very talented at what he does, he is kind of an eccentric character, and that's why he keeps a lot to himself, and it can be a bit offish with people as it is. But there's a lot of back and forth. Sylvia goes away for 6 months or several months on the trip. He stays there. He ends up having an affair with Joan Baez in between the middle of this, and then obviously when she comes back and he starts writing a few more songs, because Joan listens to, when they have the affair, she listens to some of his music. They kind of incorporate her together, and this is when he starts to make it big. As he starts to make it big, Sylvia can see that, you know, he's kind of slipping away from her, even though there is that attraction to each other. It ends with him breaking up with her, getting big in the music world, and then he kind of skipped forward a year because you keep seeing years come up. He has a new girlfriend, he's going to a party, everybody, he loves him and stuff like this, and it's all about when's the next album out and stuff like this. And even though he's got famous, he's getting to the identity that people want him to always do the same sort of music and stuff, and he wants to go down different routes. So in between this, he meets another Bobby for this little band that he then ends up taking up on his own, or taking along the journey with him. You do have an old occasion. He meets this Bobby. This Bobby's going to play this band. He turns up and he sits down to the back as soon as he's listening to this band. Someone notices him, and then this is where you kind of have the true celebrity thing of he's trying to go. A woman grabs his glass off. He grabs his glass back, and as he does, a bloke takes offence and whacks him in the face. I kind of feel people need to understand that he is a real person and need to give him space, even though he is a celebrity. But this is the real world that we obviously live in, where people don't know boundaries and stuff. Obviously, the other Bobby takes him away, and this is when he's taken on and B's part of his band and stuff, and he gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Obviously, there are a few altercations with Joan again, but then she realises he's a bit of an arsehole, and that kind of comes across, and there's this kind of standish off with them that then they're doing tours together, and people want him to play this one song, and he just doesn't want to play it to kind of kick off. This is when you can see his record producer is having a few problems with him, but obviously it gets resolved, and then kind of the whole film culminates in Pete Seeger has this kind of folk festival that he's been doing every year, and Bob's turning up and all is it. And the last one, as we're getting more to it, the bloke who runs it or helps runs it says it's basically folk, and Bob's new music is going in a different direction, and Pete tries to encourage them to get Bob there, but obviously they don't want them to play that type of music. He ends up doing it anyway, and a lot of people are kicking off. He then plays kind of another two songs that people kind of enjoy, and then he leaves. This whole last concert, he does end up picking Sylvia again, and then Sylvia does leave, and they kind of have a last kind of, it ain't gonna work with us, and that's how it is. And then kind of, the Pete situation with him and Pete, they kind of have a bit of a falling out, and then obviously Bob Dylan drives off, and then there's a whole, this is the end. And it was an enjoyable film. It was interesting to learn the side of things, and I did really like it. Timothy Chalamet did all his own singing, and it's great, and you learn the music and the feel and how it was done is brilliant across the way. So I give it a 7 out of 10. Like, it was a really enjoyable shot. It was really enjoyable to watch it. There was obviously, you see Guthrie from time to time, but unfortunately, I say with the character of how it does is, I think the more time goes on, even though you enjoy the music and you're enjoying the film, the character of Bob Dylan seems to be a bit of an arsehole the more and more you watch the movie, and you kind of are a little bit offish against him near the end of the movie. And that's how I kind of come out, and that's why I'm not necessarily rating it an amazing movie. I mean, that's possibly how he is. Who knows? It was an enjoyable movie for me. Have you seen this movie? A complete unknown. Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below. And have a nice weekend, and I shall see you in the next one.